We got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, it's the day before the election. Let's cut through all the bull. Nothing to talk about but this. I want to get right to it. My final plea this morning to every single American. A day out. Election day is tomorrow, and this is my final plea to every single American, from far left to MAGA right and everybody in between. To every American, to everyone who's going to vote, here's my final message, my final shot to try to convince everyone to do the right thing. And I need to begin like this, and I need to provide some context again before I say what I'm about to say. You know my history. You know that I don't come from the Republican Party establishment. The Republican Party establishment hated me. I come from the Tea Party. I come from the populist Republican Party base. I come from MAGA. I voted for Trump in 2016. I supported Trump in 2015 and 2016. That's where I come from. And 6 years ago, when I publicly came out against Donald Trump 6 years ago, man, I took a blowtorch to my career. I took a blowtorch to my livelihood. I lost everything by coming out against Donald Trump 6 years ago. I want you to hear that because I want you to understand, I want you to have the context for why I did what I did, because I want what I did to impact what you're going to do in this election. You need to know that. It was a big, big deal when I publicly came out against Donald Trump 6 years ago. I lost everything and I ended my career. I lost my supporters. I lost my followers. I have put up with thousands and thousands of messages of hate every day for 6 years. I've put up with death threats and all the rest. I'm not alone. I walked away, understand, I walked away from supporting Donald Trump. And to do that, I had to have a really good reason. And I did that. I publicly turned against Donald Trump 6 years ago because I believed then and I believe now that Donald Trump is everything, I mean everything, our founding fathers feared. Donald Trump lies every time he opens his mouth. Donald Trump believes he's above the law. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. Donald Trump is humanly incapable of putting the country's interest first. Donald Trump will never, ever, ever concede when he loses an election. And Donald Trump is everything, everything you taught your children not to be. I'm not asking you, when I ask you to vote against Donald Trump tomorrow, I'm not asking you to take a blowtorch to your career. I'm not asking you to do like I did and lose everything. I'm simply asking you to put the country's interest ahead of your own partisan interest. I'm simply asking you to put your country first. That's all I'm asking you to do. Start with the lying. Start with the lying. Every politician lies. Every politician fudges, hedges, bullshits a little, and all the rest. No other politician lies as much as Donald Trump does. No other politician lies as much as he does. And it's not even close. He lies quite literally almost every time he opens his mouth. He lies about stupid things. He lies about important things. He lies about little things. He lies about big things. He lies all the time. He lies almost every time he opens his mouth. I'm asking you, my fellow Americans, how in God's name can you put someone in the White House who lies so much? How can you do that? Trump believes he's above the law. Donald Trump believes he's above the law. Trump's been this way his whole life. He's never believed the rules and the law apply to him. He's always broken the rules and he's always broken the law. He does not believe the law applies to him. By the way, this is anathema to America. In America, we still believe no man is above the law. The law applies to all of us. Donald Trump believes he's above the law. It's why he so easily, a number of years ago, tried to blackmail Ukraine into digging up dirt on Joe Biden, held up aid to Ukraine unless Ukraine dug up dirt on Joe Biden. Trump believes he's above the law. It's why Donald Trump so easily stole all those classified documents and then obstructed the search for those classified documents. Donald Trump believes he's above the law. It's why when he lost an election, he committed crimes trying to overthrow that election. Donald Trump believes he's above the law. Again, that's anathema to America. But to you, America, to you, American voter, how in God's name can you vote for a candidate who believes he's above the law? How can you do that? Donald Trump wants to be an authoritarian. He wants to be a dictator. Again, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, this is anathema to America. We don't have kings or authoritarians or strongmen or dictators in America, not in this country. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. It's bad enough that Donald Trump worships dictators like Putin and Orban and Xi around the world. Trump wants to be one. Donald Trump has said he will use the military against his political opponents, the act of a dictator. Donald Trump has said he'll be dictator on day one. Donald Trump has said he will shut down media outlets he does not like. The act of a dictator, not an American president. Donald Trump said he will put his political opponents in jail. the act of a dictator, not an American president. Trump even says un-American stupid stuff like he wants to make it illegal to burn the American flag. The act of a dictator, not an American president. In America, you have a right to burn the American flag. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. How in God's name can you vote for a candidate who wants to be a dictator? And for everybody listening to me right now who says, Joe, he can't be a dictator, he's going to try. He's told us he wants to try. How in God's name could you vote for a candidate for president of the United States who would try to be a dictator? Why would you do that? Maybe most dangerous and scariest of all, Donald Trump is humanly incapable of putting the country's interests first. Because Donald Trump is humanly incapable of putting anyone or any other interest ahead of his own. Donald Trump is capable of only acting in his own interests. How scary is that? How dangerous is that? Look at how Trump fucked up COVID. Look at how Donald Trump royally fucked up COVID. COVID hits this country, a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. And when it hit, because Donald Trump was incapable of thinking about what was best for the country, Trump lied to the American people about COVID. He said it was no big deal. Trump pushed a bunch of bullshit and disinformation. Trump said in March of that year it was going away as it just began. Donald Trump's lies and disinformation and inability to think about or care about what's best for America when COVID hit led to the unnecessary deaths of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All because Donald Trump was incapable of thinking about what was best for the country. All Trump could think about was getting himself reelected that year, which is why he tried to downplay COVID and lie about COVID. Now, the great irony is, if Donald Trump had risen to the occasion and rallied us all around COVID and put the country first, Donald Trump would have been reelected in a breeze in 2020. But here's the point, the scary point. Trump is incapable, I mean humanly incapable, of putting the country's interests first. That's scary and dangerous. Look at the 2020 election, right? Trump lost. Why could Donald Trump not accept that loss? Why could he not concede? Why could he not participate in the peaceful transfer of power? Why did he go to the extreme of trying to commit crimes to overturn the election? Because Donald Trump was incapable of putting the country first. He's the only one who's ever done it, the only candidate for president who's ever done it. Al Gore, John Kerry, every Republican and Democrat who's run for president and lost a really tough race, and they were pissed off that they lost, and they were disappointed that they lost, but they all, Mitt Romney, Al Gore, all of them, at the end of the day, they put their country first. Trump couldn't do that. He couldn't accept the loss, and he couldn't and still has never publicly conceded because he was incapable of putting the country's interest first. All he could do, and in many ways it's not his fault because he's not capable. All he could do was put his own interests first. He lost, he was pissed off. It's all about me. I'm mad, so he stomped his feet for 4 years. Oh my God. How in God's name can you put someone in the White House who's incapable of acting in the country's interest? How can you do that? Don't you see how wrong and dangerous that is? And by the way, how can you put someone in the White House? How can you vote for someone who will never concede when he loses an election? Trump didn't concede in 2020. He won't concede if he loses this election. How can you support that? How can you condone that? This representative democracy depends upon all of us accepting the winners and the losers, all of us every 2 years accepting the will of the people. But man, this representative democracy most especially depends upon our candidates accepting the will of the people. Like, we don't know who's going to win tomorrow, but we know one thing for sure. Trump won't accept the result. If he loses, he won't accept the result. Trump will probably come out on election night and declare himself the winner tomorrow night before the result is known. We know Trump will do that. How could you support someone who would do that? And once the result is known, if Trump loses, he'll never, ever accept that result. How in God's name can you support a candidate who would give his middle finger to the power that we, the people, exercise every 2 years and every 4 years? How can you do that? Think of your children, American voter. Think of your children. Donald Trump is everything you taught your children not to be. You would never work for Donald Trump. You would never work with Donald Trump. You would never go to business with Donald Trump. You would never partner with Donald Trump. You would never trust Donald Trump. You would never trust your wife or your daughters with Donald Trump. You would never do business with this guy. You would never work for this guy because you don't trust him. He is everything you taught your children not to be. He's a liar. He's a cheat. He's a bully. He's cruel. He's ignorant. He's hateful. He's a coward. He's a sore loser. Everybody listening to me right now, when you raised your kids and your kids played a baseball game or a soccer game or a football game or a basketball game or in any sort of a game when they were kids and they lost, you taught your children to line up and shake the hands of the winning team and congratulate them. You taught your children to be good losers, not sore losers. How in God's name can you support a candidate that's the opposite of that? And what are you going to tell your kids? What are you going to tell your kids one day or your grandkids one day, if you voted for the candidate who tried to overthrow an American election? How do you explain that to your children? How do you explain to your children that you voted for the candidate who's such a fucking baby, he didn't accept a loss? How do you have that talk with your kids or your grandkids? Look, I'm not asking you to be like me. I'm not asking you to take a blowtorch to your career by not voting for Trump. I'm not asking you to lose everything. You won't. By the way, my career, my life was politics and right-wing media, so it made sense that I lost all of that when I opposed Trump. Your world isn't politics and right-wing media. You've got a nice, decent, regular job out there. When I ask you to vote against Trump, I'm not asking you to throw away your career. I'm just asking you to vote for your country. I'm asking you not to put a horrible human being back in the White House. I'm asking you, damn it, for once in your life, damn it, to not be selfish, not be self-interested, not be partisan, and not be stupidly tribal. I'm asking you to rise above all these selfish partisan interests you have, and for once in your life, vote for your country. You'll be just fine. You're doing just fine right now under the Biden-Harris administration. The economy's doing great, and you know it. Crime is down, and you know it. And you yourself are doing better financially now than you were when Biden and Harris first got elected. You know that. I've had so many conversations over the last year with Republicans who have told me, yeah, Joe, Trump's a bad guy, but my personal finances. Trump's a bad guy, Joe, but taxes. Trump's a bad guy, Joe, but the economy. Trump's a bad guy, Joe, but the Democrats are communist. Trump's a bad guy, Joe, but whatever. Like, I've had so many of those conversations. Excuse me? First off, Trump's way worse than a bad guy. And I hope we've established this right now. He lies as he breathes. He believes he's above the law. He wants to be a dictator. He's humanly incapable of acting in the country's interest. He'll never, ever concede an election that he loses. He's everything you taught your children not to be. Hello? He's way worse than just a bad guy. So take your he's a bad guy and please respectfully get lost with that. He's way worse than a bad guy. He's a threat to this country. A guy in the White House who's humanly incapable of putting the country's interests first is a threat to this country. That's way worse than a bad guy. A guy in the White House who lies every time he speaks to the American people, that's way worse than just a bad guy. So respectfully, take the he's just a bad guy and shove it. But then, excuse me, the economy, your taxes, finances, crime, again, wake up. You're doing just fine. Biden has been president for 4 years. Kamala Harris has been vice president for 4 years. How you doing economically? Damn near everybody listening to me right now is doing damn well economically. You're all doing better than you were when Biden Harris first got elected 4 years ago. And you know that's the truth. Take off your partisan glasses. You know that's the truth. I've had so many conversations with wealthy Republican businessmen, right? They don't want their bottom line impacted. Kamala Harris is coming for this or that. They're concerned about their taxes. Excuse me, wealthy Republican businessmen, how the fuck you been doing the past 4 years? You've kicked ass. You've done great financially. Donald Trump hasn't been president. Joe Biden has. Kamala Harris has been vice president. So take your selfish financial interest and again, get lost with that because you're not being honest. You will do just fine with Kamala Harris in the White House financially. Don't you worry, you big, brave Republican businessmen and businesswomen. You've done just fine under Biden. You'll do just fine under Kamala Harris, and you know it. And by the way, wealthy Republican businessmen, respectfully, fuck you. Put your country first for a moment. The continuation of our democracy is a hell of a lot more important than your tax rate. Quit being so damn selfish. I'm imagining Republican businessmen and women, you've got children, think of them. You want to put somebody in the White House who believes they're above the law just because you want to make sure your taxes are fine? I got no patience for that selfish, partisan attitude. Put your country first. Rise above for once in your life. Damn it, do the right thing. Rise above your partisan interests. You'll be just fine. Crime. Crime's down. It's been consistently down ever since COVID ended. You'll be just fine. I've spent every word so far talking about how unfit Donald Trump is. Here's 30 seconds on Kamala Harris. I've been out for the past 3 months campaigning my ass off, this Tea Party conservative. I've been out for 3 months on the ground in one battleground state after another, day after day for 3 months. I've gotten to know Kamala Harris. Here's what I know. You'll all be just fine with Kamala Harris as president. Here's what I know about Kamala Harris. She will defend our democracy and she'll defend the rule of law. She loves this country. She will act in your interest and not her own. She will make every day about trying to fix our problems. She won't make every day about herself. And she will work on common sense, centrist solutions to our problems. She will govern from, Kamala Harris will, the common sense center. By the way, everything I just said is the antithesis of Donald Trump. Kamala Harris loves America. Unlike Donald Trump, Kamala Harris loves America. Unlike Donald Trump, Kamala Harris will defend democracy and the rule of law. Unlike Donald Trump, Kamala Harris will try to unite this country instead of dividing this country. And unlike Donald Trump, Kamala Harris will bring people together and try to govern from the common sense center. You'll be just fine, all of you, with Kamala Harris as president. You've been just fine with Joe Biden as president. I know you're a Republican, whatever, right? You don't like the Democrats. I get that. But the point here is Trump is this unique threat, right? Trump is this unique threat that I know deep down you know. He lies all the time. He's above the law. He wants to be a dictator. He's humanly incapable of acting in the country's interest. He'll never, ever, ever accept an election result that he loses. I know you know Trump is a unique threat. I want you to go into the voting booth tomorrow and vote against that unique threat and do the right thing and rise above your partisan interest, rise above your selfish interest, rise above what you think your financial interests are. Like, I'd be making the same damn argument if I thought electing Kamala Harris is going to really hurt you personally, financially. If I thought that, I'd still be saying every word I'm saying right now, because you, me, everybody listening to me right now, we've all been called at this moment in time to put our country first. And if that means we got to take a hit financially, if that means we got to take a hit personally, damn it, sign me up. I'm going to do it, because I don't want a dictator who believes he's above the law, who would shred our democracy in the White House. We're all called right now to put our country first. And damn it, you should do that regardless. But on top of that, you're going to be just fine personally. And you're going to be just fine financially when Kamala Harris is president, because you've done just fine financially with Joe Biden as president. And when you stop listening to me in a little bit, you'll think about that and you'll acknowledge it's true. I am simply, and I'm almost done, I am asking you, again, not asking you to be me. I'm not asking you to lose everything. I'm not asking you to destroy your career. I'm simply asking you to rise above your own personal, selfish, partisan interests and put your country first. That's all I'm asking you to do. That shouldn't be hard. Generations of Americans before us have done that. They've done that. This is our opportunity. This is our moment to do that. Final thought. Remember when I turned against Trump 6 years ago, I did take a blowtorch to my career. I did lose everything. I threw away my livelihood. But look at me. Look at me. 6 years later, I'm still standing. 6 years later, I'm still here. 6 years later, I'm okay. And by the way, I'd do it all again. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm okay. You'll be okay too. You put your country first. You put your country above your party this time. You'll be okay too. And the country will be okay. And you'll be able to look your children in the eyes. Man, you'll be able to look your children in the eyes and say that you stepped up. You did something you never thought you could. You did something maybe you've never done before. You voted against your own personal, perceived, partisan interest. You became a patriot and you voted for a country. You voted for your country. That's all I'm asking you to do. No matter who you are. That's all I'm asking you to do. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for listening. Vote, 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 vote. Put your country first. God bless you all. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.